Welcome to the Art Institute's podcast, presented by Art Institute's organization. This is the show where we celebrate the people and institutions shaping the future of art education and creative industries. Whether you're leading an art institute, teaching the next generation, or managing a cultural space, you're in the right place. So, let's get started. Today, I want to talk to you about something that often feels like a heavy weight for many of us in the art world. It is the challenge of proving our worth. We know that art institutes are vital. We see the impact every day in our galleries, our classrooms, and our studios. But in a world driven by data and financial reports, sometimes it feels like that deep, meaningful impact gets lost in translation. The topic we are diving into today is the value proposition for art institutes. Now, I know that sounds like corporate business language, but stay with me. This is not about turning your institute into a business. It is about clarity. Many art institutes do not suffer from a lack of impact. You are doing the work. You are making a difference. The difficulty usually comes from a lack of clarity in how that impact is communicated to the outside world. When we cannot clearly state our value, funding becomes a constant struggle. We end up being reactive instead of proactive. Leadership spends too much time justifying the existence of the institute rather than advancing its mission. So how do we fix this? I want to share a very powerful, practical exercise you can do with your staff and your board members. Before you write your next grant or strategic plan, ask your team to answer one specific question. They should do this independently, without discussing it first. Here's the question. If our institute disappeared tomorrow, what specific economic or social loss would our community experience? Read that question again in your mind. If you disappeared tomorrow, what is the specific loss to your community? When you get the answers back, compare them. If your staff and board all have different answers, that is where your work begins. You need a shared internal understanding of what you produce for society. Let's look at how we can talk about this value in two main areas. The first is economics. Art institutes often understate their economic role. We tend to focus on the cultural side, but you are also an economic engine. Think about the jobs you create, the artist fees you pay, and the visitors who spend money in your neighborhood when they come to see an exhibition. You also function as a workforce development center. The skills people learn through art education, such as communication, critical thinking, and creative problem solving, are exactly what employers in every industry are looking for. You do not need a massive, expensive study to prove this. Start small. Track just 3 simple things each year. First, count the paid jobs or contracts you generate. Second, look at visitors' spending connected to your programs. And third, track the artists or learners who generate income after being involved with you. Trends over time are much more persuasive than perfect data. Now, let's talk about the second area, which is social impact. This is often harder to describe because it's so human and complex. You provide belonging, education, and safe spaces. The mistake many institutes make is trying to list every single benefit. That is too much for a supporter to remember. Instead, choose one primary social outcome you influence the most. Maybe it's youth engagement or community well-being. Once you pick that one outcome, collect evidence for it consistently. Find one participant quote, look for one observable change, get one endorsement from a partner. If you keep this framing consistent, you'll build a reputation for that specific impact. Another shift in thinking involves how we view artists. Too often, we talk about supporting artists as if it's a form of charity. We need to flip that script. Artists are producers of public value. They are educators, mentors, and innovators. When you support an artist, you're creating value for the public, not just helping one person. Document what the artists you support do for the community, whether that's teaching or mentoring, and use that in your reports. Now, I want to give you a simple framework for measuring all of this without getting overwhelmed. We call it the 3-3-3 framework. Here's how it works. You track 3 quantitative numbers annually. You collect 3 short stories or quotes that humanize those numbers, and you identify 3 long-term changes you care about most. This mix of numbers and stories creates credibility while keeping the human element alive. Finally, remember that you have different audiences. A foundation doesn't care about the same things as a city policymaker. You should write 4 versions of your value proposition. Write one for funders that focuses on outcomes, write one for policymakers that focuses on jobs and community benefit, write one for partners that focuses on shared goals, and write one for the public that focuses on access and experience. If you can answer the questions of what you do, what it costs, what it produces, and who benefits, and you can answer them clearly and as a team, you'll build trust. Sustainability isn't about doing more, it's about making what you already do visible and valued. So, I encourage you to go back to that first question I asked. If your institute disappeared tomorrow, what would be lost? Clarify that answer, and you'll find that a strong value proposition doesn't compromise your artistic purpose, it protects it. Thanks for listening to the Art Institute's podcast. This episode has been brought to you by Art8, webinars for creatives. Share your artistic passions, sell your art, learn new skills, and build your tribe with live or on-demand expert webinars. Learn more at art8.net. Here's how to stay connected to Art Institutes. First, subscribe to the Art Institute's podcast so you never miss an episode. Next, sign up for our popular newsletter at news.artinstitutes.org. Together, we're not just supporting the art world, we're redefining it. Remember, art doesn't just happen. Its foundation is built by institutions and individuals like you. So, keep creating, keep leading, and we'll see you next time on the Art Institute's podcast.